All right, everybody. Welcome to the 6 o'clock live before lock show. Hopefully, the internet is going to cooperate a little bit better than it did for the afternoon one, and hopefully, the results will cooperate a little bit better than the afternoon one did as well. So, um, we're going to go over DraftKings. We're going to go over FanDuel, and then if we have time, we will do a little bit of PGA. I did a video which I uploaded to the site from um, for PGA, but I didn't go live with it. I was a little afraid about the internet. What's up, K9? 150 is not for me. I don't blame you. I don't blame you. But I like the screen name, that's for sure. All right, so what we're gonna do is I think it's just gonna be me today. So again, when it's just me, we're just going to go through the projections, go through the plays, do a hand build, and do a SaberSim MME build. Maybe give a little instruction on how to do it, and then we'll do FanDuel as well. Then we'll do a little bit of PGA, and then we'll get out of here. And I'm sure I will get to that, JJ, in due time. What do we have? I gotta look at the NASCAR as well. I gotta catch up. MMA, the DFS piece is going to be recorded either later tonight or tomorrow. We were waiting on one fight to be added to the slate, and it was, so I have to do a little bit of work on it, and then that'll be it. All right, so let me share my screen. And again, we're going to go straight into sharing my sheets for the day. And this is DraftKings. So we are sorting again. This is the same process as usual. And you know, I don't want to waste too much time with this, but you want to know how I play. This is exactly what I do. So there's nothing else better I can do. All right. So when you sort the stuff by sheets value score first, we're trying to get an idea of what the pitchers are. And these three guys rate out, four guys actually rate out a little bit better than the others. So you have Darvish in kind of the mid-range, Ohtani and Gausman at the top, and then Emerson Hancock, the Seattle prospect, who is making his first start against San Diego, and he's a 4K flat. Whenever you have a 4K flat pitcher who is going to legitimately get a start, they're just really always in play. That's the best I can describe it. So he's going to be in play. That's just the way it is. He could get crushed. He could only pitch 4 innings. It's, but, and yes, it's not the easiest matchup in the world, but he's just going to be in play. Do you have to play him? No, but he certainly rates to be one of the top 4. So next thing I look at is kind of ownership. And I have Ohtani, Darvish, and Gausman at 30, 25% each. And I have Emerson Hancock at only 11. So, it seems logical that I probably want to play, at least in my hand builds, one of those 3 spend ups with Hancock. I mean, that just seems logical. So that's what I probably will end up doing. When you go down, though, you get Flaherty. He just rates a little bit below, but I guess it's okay. He's very similar to Max Fried as far as rating goes, and they're both relatively similarly owned, about 16%, something like that. And then you're dumpster diving down to David Peterson and such. If you want my kind of, I don't believe the projection play, that's going to be Luis Severino. I don't know what he projects for, but let's see. I don't even have him projected. Is he not pitching? It's pretty funny. I don't even have him projected, so I don't know what to tell you. But I would. That's pretty interesting. Does he get scratched somehow? Anyway, probably isn't going to show up as such a great play, but anytime you have a righty against the White Sox, it's probably a decent play. Especially when I think that there is going to be some ownership on Hancock. If you want to dumpster dive somewhere else, I think you get a little bit of leverage off of that. So basically, pitching wise, it's one of these four, two of these four: Darvish, Hancock, Ohtani, Gausman. Now, there's an asterisk on that because Rich is bringing up an interesting point. He's saying, is it reasonable to get off? Oh, okay, Sharks, thank you. Rich is saying, is it reasonable to get off the Boston Kansas City game? Right. So it depends on what pitchers you're using, right? So I mentioned I'm going to use Darvish, Hancock, Ohtani, and Gausman. But if you want to use, say, Darvish and Ohtani or Darvish and Gausman, I mean, I really don't think that in GPPs it warrants, using some of this, the chalkier stacks. So you have to choose, where to pick your poisons in GPPs. Either play something other than the chalkiest stack or something other than the chalkiest pitchers, or maybe both. All right, let's look at the stacks and show you what I mean. And this is the way I analyze it. All right, so we got everybody over here, and we're going to look at them three different ways. We're going to look at them by raw stack points, value stack, which is just basically points per dollar, and modified stack score. So let's just rank these guys by raw points. And look, you actually have Boston rated at raw points higher than Atlanta, which is almost impossible for anybody to ever be rated higher than that. That's Jordan Lyles is just the guy that people like to go after, and their ownership is extremely high. Okay, we'll get back to that. Atlanta, they're second, and their ownership is lower, not low, but lower, because they're very difficult to get in. And then when you go down to this next group, Yankees, Houston, Toronto, San Diego, I think if you want to pivot, like any of these sort of makes sense. Houston kind of stands out because they're the lowest owned of this group. The Dodgers stand out. They're some of the lowest owned of this group. Toronto is rated a little bit lower than the Yankees, but they're a little bit lower owned as well. It's a really good question, Clay. When it comes to pitching, anything over 40 is very, very good. Let's put it that way. And when it comes to hitting, anything over 50 is very, very good. That's the best I can describe it. As far as raw points go. Raw stack as far as for stacks. For pitching, talking about Sheets value score about 40 or above is really good. So that's the thing. Like if you're getting like a top pitcher who's say 32, you know what I mean? And he's like high owned, and like everybody else like 29, 28. I mean, there's no reason to play him. All right, let's take a look at just straight value, see who looks good. And here it's kind of messed up. You have Boston also showing up here, which is almost impossible. Like it's very rare to have a team show up both as good point per dollar and raw points. Then you also get KC, Mets, White Sox, Yankees. So that's the second time we've seen the Yankees name mentioned. Now then we go into modified stack over here. And once again, you have Boston. This just shows you what a kind of elite stack this is. Then Yankees again, KC, and the White Sox again, and the Mets again. So what we knew already, I think, is that Boston was going to be a pretty good stack. We also sort of knew already that the Yankees were going to be pretty good. And we also sort of knew that Atlanta would be a pretty good pivot. So what didn't we know? We didn't know that Houston was going to be decent. I don't think we knew that Toronto was going to be decent. And I also didn't think that we knew that the Mets and the White Sox were going to be okay. Because the White Sox and the Mets, they look okay, and they're going to be pretty low owned. So those would be kind of the stacks that I would try to play around with would be for your main five-man, like Boston, Houston, Toronto. Boston only with lower owned pitchers. Houston and Toronto, you can do whatever you want. And then you could use the White Sox and the Mets, and obviously KC. But White Sox and the Mets could be pretty sneaky. And Baltimore might be next, but I think they're a little bit too high owned for me. So let's take a look. Let's build a lineup here, and we're going to do it a couple of ways. Let's do. Let's see what we could get if we double pay up. Let's say we played Gaussman and Darvish, for example. Right now, this is two pretty chalky options, right? So you're only at 3,800 a man. I don't think you're going to be able to get to like the Houston guys, for example, that you want if you play this. And we could check. But I mean, you could just even eyeball these and no, you're just not going to be able to get there. Okay. So those two guys, you don't get to play Houston. Dodge is certainly going to be too expensive, right? So as far as raw points go, you're kind of asking for it, playing these two guys together. But if you want to play these two guys together, I mean, this is going to be kind of for the week, not for the week, but what does a White Sox stack look like against this combination of Yankee nonsense? Or what is going right back to Kansas City do? This would be kind of crazy if we could actually get away with this, right? So let's take a look at the White Sox guys we want. And this is the way I look at it. I want to see guys that appear in both of these columns, or as many of them as possible. So you have Benintendi, and you have Jimenez, right? So those two for sure. So Benintendi and Jimenez. Let's put those guys in first. Let me back into these. Jimenez, Benintendi, and then so you still have $39.50 a man. I mean, you could probably play all these White Sox and try to just go after them. Now, this is going to be pretty contrarian, but I mean, I know that everybody's kind of crapping on Tim Anderson recently because of everything that's going on with him, but he is only 3,600. So put him in, and then who else? I guess we could try to get in Vaughn or Andrews, maybe. Let's see what those guys are. Andrew Vaughn, 3,400. So if you do this, I mean, you're already pretty contrarian, and you could probably fill in the rest with some chalky stuff, like some Boston guys if you wanted to. They play Boston with the White Sox. Is that enough? Yeah, maybe not. I don't think you can play this combination pretty much with any Bostons, except for maybe some one-offs. So maybe you know what you could do? You can go back to our friends from Kansas City. And we know who we want to play there too, I think. Ooh, would rather play Bobby Witt than Tim Anderson. But, we could play Perez if we want to do that. We can go back to Mass if we want to do that. Go back to Garcia. We could do some damage here. And if you don't want to play Tim Anderson, for example, you could turn this into a White Sox KC. Right? Something like that. So now you can do a 5-3 with KC and the White Sox. Like really easily, right? You can leave 800 on the table if you feel like it. Or still go back to Tim Anderson, and then you can just double pay up for pitching. You want to do that? And this could be. Check this out. I mean, if you really wanted to lay the gauntlet, you could play. Boom, Ohtani and Gaussman, and play all these turkeys. So that's one. Yeah, we're gonna get there. So that's one thing you can do. The other thing is the cheapos. So I think we talked about this already. Is that the next build we're going to use Hancock? Okay. Now the question is, yeah, I'll defend. Don't worry, I got you, Clan. Um, so if we do Hancock, there's two things you can do. Like you could play Hancock with Darvish, you could play Hancock with Otani, you could play Hancock whatever, or you could double pay down for pitcher and then get all those other things you wanted. So like, let's say you want to play the Houston or the Dodgers. Then what you could do is let's do the stats. Yeah, I'm just not getting to Freed tonight. Um, so if you wanted to play Houston, it would be the Mets or that other team we could have thought about, right? So we want Alvarez, Tucker, Abreu, Altuve, and McCormick, right? So let's put those in, just like that. Let's see how much all that costs. Alvarez, Tucker, McCormick, Altuve, Bregman, right? And let's just say that you then wanted to do Will Smith, Freddie Freeman, and something else. Like if you had it in you, I mean, you could do something like this, almost, not quite. I was gonna say you want to go play Severino, but not coming off the bench. I wouldn't do that. So you can't really play everything you want, but you could certainly get the Houstons in pretty easily if you play Hancock with Darvish, right? So you play all these Houstons, and I don't think Houston's going to be particularly popular because Flaherty just came off a good performance. Same with the Dodgers. I mean, Merrill Kelly's coming off a pretty good performance too, but you can't have everything in life. You can't have a perfect matchup. But then and then here you could you could go back to that Mets value I kind of alluded to before. Like can't quite get here to Alonso though, but can't quite do that. How about we can go back to those White Sox? We can go back to the White Sox and play Grandal and then Tim Anderson. And then we can even juice this up a little bit. Maybe Grandal. Maybe that's not the best. But now maybe we could take Alvarez to get one off there. So you get Houston. Again, you get those White Sox, a couple of White Sox in there. That's pretty cool. Okay, let's do a SaberSim build and see what we would get MME wise. And the other team, again, I didn't build, but I do like is Toronto. They're very similar for me. And I'll go over my exposures in a second. Okay, so let's do. We have the projections in already. Let's build again. We'll build 50. And then we'll go on the FanDuel. So it looks as though when we build this, first of all, we go to stack types. I don't, Bobby will yell at me, but I don't like any of this stuff. I don't like any of these 4-2s. They offend my senses. 4-3s. Keep the 4-4s in for now and see what we get. So team stacks, we'll be getting about 48% Boston, 42% Kansas City. Then Baltimore and Houston. And then as far as the players go, the pitchers, Darvish, then Gausman, Ohtani, and then Hancock. So this build sort of reflects my projections, which I kind of like. And let's see, even this first lineup is pretty cool. You can get these Braves in. Just don't play Ohtani or Darvish, right? This is a Flaherty Hancock lineup, which is pretty badass. You just got to get good game, reasonable games out of these guys and have these Atlanta Boston guys just go bananas, right? And that certainly can happen. Let's take a look at what else about this build is interesting. 5. It's interesting that the biggest exposure of this build is in Houston 5-mans. Very interesting. Okay, let's do excuse me, let's do FanDuel now. Before I have to check this out. 1 sec. That should be reasonable. All right, FanDuel looks pretty easy, right? It's one of these 3. Ohtani, Darvish, Gausman, and quite honestly, the amount that one rates higher than the other is commensurate with his value score, his ownership. So there's literally no edge. One of those 3 should do the trick. Now, however, I mean, Peterson and Flaherty at 4% and 6% ownership might be something worth considering. And now, if you guys want to play your Max Fried at 5% ownership, I'll give you permission. Okay. Now let's take a look at the stacks, which are very easy to get to. FanDuel, you can usually get what you want. But let's just see about that. FanDuel stacks. It's usually the same. So raw points, it's Boston, Atlanta, then Houston, Dodgers, Yankees, and then San Diego, Baltimore, Toronto. Pretty much any of these are fine. Again, but if you play any of those 3 top pitchers, you probably don't want to play Boston. I think if you want to play Boston, you want to play something like Peterson and or Flaherty or Fried, something like that. When you look at modified, again, Boston kind of stands out. But then after that, again, Yankees, Baltimore, Toronto. Okay, Toronto's fun. So let's build a FanDuel. Let's edit this one. Let's see what it will look like. I want to build 2. I want to build one with the chalk pitchers and one with the chalk hitters. So if you're building one with the chalk pitchers, I mean, I don't know which one's your favorite. I mean, you just pick your favorite. Let's pick the cheapest one. So not Ohtani, not Gausman. We'll pick the other one. We'll pick Darvish. Pick the cheapest one. All right. Then we have to figure out what the best mix of the hitting is. So we're playing a chalk one. We can't play Boston. So it's one of these lower owned ones. So wait, let's go back to raw over here. Toronto's not bad. San Diego, that's not bad. The Dodgers and Houston. I don't think we're going to be able to afford it though. Just my guess. But let's try it. Since we played Houston on the other side, let's play the Dodgers over here. So what we're looking for are Betts, Muncy, Smith, and Freeman, right? So here we go. Smith, Freeman, Betts, and who's the other one? Betts. Oh, Muncy. So if we do that, yikes, 23-25 a man. doesn't look like we're going to be able to do it, but maybe. When we do that, then we have to start looking at these point per dollar plays here. So let's take a look at like Cleveland or the Mets. Cleveland's got, they have a tough matchup though. How about the Mets or KC? The Mets with low ownership. Let's see if we can't put some of those guys in. We're not going to be able to do it because the guys that are cheap are just the awful players. Right? So it just doesn't look like we're going to be able to play the Dodgers. At least the Dodgers that we want to play with Darvish. It's amazing. Can we play Baltimore? Can those guys be somewhat cheap? I mean, we could certainly play Kansas City. Or can we? Let's see. Let's see what win is, because I have to play somebody good. So we play him. No, it doesn't work, right? I'm not playing Kansas City without Bobby Witt. It's just throwing money away. But what about Baltimore? Can you get away with that? Let's see. Henderson's 3,200. That's kind of rough. No, then you have 3 2Ks. So it just doesn't look like the Dodgers are going to be able to be played with Darvish. It's just not going to happen. So we're going to have to be a little cheaper. What does Toronto look like? What do the Toronto guys look like? These guys look pretty cheap. So let's take a look at this. Whit Merrifield's 2,900. All right, that's good news. Okay. What is Chapman that expensive? 3,000? That's not terrible. If I try to get in Guerrero, are they going to yell at me? Dude, Guerrero's only 3,200. And Springer is probably cheap enough. Oh yeah, this is the team. Oh, Toronto is definitely the team on FanDuel. I wonder if they're going to be really popular as a result. I mean, we see how easy it was to put those guys in. The question is, who do we pair them with? Let's see if we can play Houston. I'll bet you that we can play Houston. We have to probably make one little change. Like we take Chapman out because I want to play Bregman. So if we put Houston in, take Houston in, and let's put in, well, we have to play Alvarez. Then we play Bregman. Then we play Dubon, right? And then the one, we don't have to make a change actually, because you know what we can do? Check this out. We can play Varsho. Oh, we're freaking geniuses. Varsho. And then finishing it out with the Chapman. Let's go. Leaving 600 on the table. I can't do that. Wait, what did I do? I only have 4 from the same team. Wait, Guerrero, Merrifield, Bregman, Dubon. Oh, so instead of Springer, this is not a problem. We'll play like McCormick or something like that. Hey, there it is. Let's go. Ba-boom. Otherwise known as the winner. All right, let's do a FanDuel MME build. Yeah, you know what? I never enjoyed eating the chalk. You want to know why? Because what happens is that the chalk goes off, and I end up like competing with like these guys with like millions of lineups, and it's just impossible. You get surrounded by all the combinations, and you just have to be so perfect that it just never works for me. All right, so let's go. Everything's in here now, so let's do 50 lineups. We'll do 34.5 minimum. I feel so sick. Brutal. Moving along. Moving along. So FanDuel, let's make. Oh, they're all 4-4s, which is good. Let's see what we got. Mostly Atlanta and the Mets and Toronto. Oh, look at that Peterson lineup right out of the gate. Let's go. Let's see the pitchers. Ohtani, Darvish, Peterson. Oh, I've got to play some of these. I mean, I just have to play some of these. This is ridiculous. Oh, that's like so. Those are so cute. These lineups. Oh, we have to do this. So Otani's the top one. This is definitely gonna be my MME builds. You got to be kidding me. How can I not play Peterson? He's so bad. He's just so bad that I just have to play it. I mean, just doesn't get any worse than playing David Peterson. That's what you got to do in these stupid MME things. Fix this. Make sure to put my nut monster lineup in the squeeze just in case. We're off to the races. Now everybody can feel free to tell me that all my guys were scratched. Yeah, Sabersim is sort of in that. Yeah, so what do you got here, Rody? What's your favorites? As far as the golf goes, I'm just basically going underweight on all the top guys as usual. It's just too easy to play them, so I think they're going to be overowned. We'll see what happens though. Yeah, there you go. Houston, Toronto. Let's go. Toronto specifically on FanDuel is so cheap. You know, it's funny. We made all the money with the Logan Allen a couple of days ago, but as we remember, he was in big trouble that game. He was in big trouble that game. So yeah. Oh, Sheets is dying. He really is. He's referring to himself in the third person, and he is dying. That's like a, I don't know which is worse, to be dying or to be referring to yourself in the third person. Here lies myself. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's certainly not going to win, but it's got a chance, right? So that's dead. Oh, goodness. All right, I guess that's going to do it. Good luck, everybody, and let's get it.